the reason it's important to everybody is that it's fascinated me for years that the public is not aware of these things. They just think that cities have insurance, and it's just not the case. So anyone who's sitting on a jury that has a case that they're on and they feel like the person is deserving of $20 million, I don't know that they realize necessarily that that money's tax dollar money. It's straight tax dollar money. All right. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Good CARMA Podcast. In Good CARMA, we're going to be talking about police liability and risk management issues. This is our first episode, so we're going to be introducing ourselves and helping you get to know us. My name is Rob Kramer. I'm the executive director for CARMA. And also here is Rob Patton, who's the police liability consultant for CARMA. So we're going to start by just talking about ourselves and our background and a little bit about CARMA so you understand that program and why it should be important to you as police officers.
Well, first of all, Rob, I just want to slow you down just a little bit because you're such a beast in getting right to the meat and potatoes, which I can appreciate. But this is kind of a big deal, man. We've been working a long time to get to where we're at. And for this to be our first podcast episode, it's kind of a big deal. And the reason why is because we're going to be sharing a lot of good information with the field that may help individuals. It will certainly help agencies. So I just wanted to put that in the atmosphere out there. This is episode 1 of the Good CARMA Podcast, and we're here to have a good time and also learn from each other, whether you're a listener or even Rob and I, because we certainly don't know everything. Sorry, man.
No, that's awesome. All right, so let's just start with you, Rob. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in police and why you've joined up with us at CARMA?
Yeah, thanks. So nothing too extravagant. For a long time, I didn't like cops. Finally made the decision to get into the business because some friends hooked me up with the ride along, and I thought, you know what, this is kind of just like sports. So once I realized that, I was all in, got on with the Sacramento Sheriff's Office, had a great career there, worked some phenomenal jobs. My best job of all time was the Major Crimes Bureau, which was a fugitive apprehension team going after just all kinds of violent criminals in Sacramento County. And just an operational knucklehead for the majority of my career. And then finally started to promote up the chain a little bit. Some folks started to talk to me and was like, "Hey, man, you need to work on your administrative side of the business." So promoted to sergeant, became an internal affairs investigator, which was a trip because I had numerous IA investigations where I was either a witness officer or a subject officer. And as you know, if you're in law enforcement or have been in law enforcement, that can be more stressful than an OIS, if you know what I'm saying. So a lot of experience there. And then just kind of moved up the chain a little bit, worked sex assaults, detective supervisor, promoted to lieutenant, and ended my career as a lieutenant with the sheriff's office. Never had any real plan to do anything after retirement, but as it was getting closer, I dropped an application with Post to be a law enforcement consultant there, was hired, oversaw Command College and the Executive Development Course. They are 2 flagship programs within that organization. And so I was humbled and blessed to be in that position. And then I made the fatal mistake. I promoted to bureau chief, and the people were great at Post. The bureaucracy wasn't so great. And this was a time, 20, 21, 22, got COVID out there and whatnot. And so we weren't going into the office so much as consultants, but as a bureau chief, you were in there every day. So I was dealing with it. It was good. I was there for 3 years and some change. And then along came Rob Kramer, who's the executive director of CARMA, which stands for the California Affiliated Risk Management Authorities. Had no idea what was going on or what he was doing, but he had this program he wanted to help his member agencies with. And Rob's going to talk a little bit more about what karma is, but he started talking about a law enforcement consultant position within his company. I took a look at it, talked to the missus, and pulled the trigger full bore. And so now I'm just in a position to help people, to help agencies be better, be successful, with the end goal of mitigating large scale payouts. That's our overall mission, is to reduce those claims. And we're going to tell you why that's so important. That's my background in a nutshell, Rob. What about you? So, yeah. So for example, I've known you for a minute now, but I don't really know you. Like, I want to know, like, I want to know your career path and what has led you to this moment right here today. And all that good stuff. But let's start with where you're from.
Sure. Well, I grew up in California, in Vacaville, California. I was, in high school, big into sports, did a lot of those types of things. I don't think I expected to be doing what I'm doing now back then. So it's been 35 years. I've been in the risk management and self-insurance industry. When I went to school at the University of Notre Dame, got to play baseball there, got to see a national championship. That was a lot of fun. Came back here, went to law school, and got an MBA in Sacramento at McGeorge and Sacramento State. And I thought I would go off and, be in a big law firm and try cases and do those types of things that you probably think about if you go to law school, right? But when I was in law school, I was working at this risk management company. Back at the time, it was called Bickmore. And they ran what are called self-insurance groups, or JPAs or pools. We call them risk-sharing pools. They're all synonymous. And I sort of fell in there. They offered me a full-time position. I became an administrator of one of many self-insurance groups that I've administered over the years in my 20s, right? And so it just sort of grew from there. I became one of the owners of the company. And so I've been doing this for 35 years, and I've been able to see this industry both expand and evolve over time. And it's very scientific industry now. Back when we started, it was sort of a mom and pop industry. There were a lot of pools that were being formed for various reasons that we'll talk about back at the time, because cities and counties and special districts, they just couldn't get insurance. The insurance market had just gone through the roof, and the costs had gone through the roof. And they have their own general fund and trying to figure out how to pay their police officers and pay their employees. And one big expense was this insurance cost. They just didn't know what to do about it. And so they began to form these self-insurance groups, which were allowed in California through a sort of a JPA sharing law. And said you could share resources with any entity you wanted to, and you could share and self-insure things. And so they began to form these self-insurance pools back then out of necessity. They just had to do it. My father at the time was a city attorney for the city of Vacaville. So he was involved in trying to help the city of Vacaville get their coverage. And he was one of the first board members of a pool that was formed in California. And it sort of grew from there. So when I started, I was running a special districts pool, but I've sort of gravitated more to these cities. So what are the number of cities pools that I've been involved in over the year, counties, special districts, etc. And right now, I'm the executive director of CARMA, the California Affiliated Risk Management Authorities. And basically what happens is that there's this concept called spread of risk in the insurance industry. You need to have enough members in your organization so that you can handle whatever risk portion that you're sharing, right? And all the members that are in CARMA are covering all of their losses up to $10 million. I don't think the general public realizes that if there's a lawsuit filed and there's a settlement or there's a jury verdict, that for the most part, these cities are on the hook for the first $10 million of loss. They're sharing that with the other members in the organization. So they're not doing it alone, but they're responsible for that first 10 million.
So yeah, that's good. Really good information. I'm still wrapping my brain around it, because when I was coming up through the agency, nobody ever talked about lawsuits or where the money come from, right? It was more of one of those situations where, yeah, the agency is being sued. Not a big deal. It's not coming out of my pocket. So can you talk a little bit more about, for the the average law enforcement officer out there on why this is so significant and more about the dollar amount. And give an example of a risk pool, like an example of how many cities are in there, how many police agencies, and then just walk us through that process of when a claim comes through and how it can affect a city or an agency, a police agency.
Right. So I've been involved in a number of pools. One that comes to mind is the Central San Joaquin Valley organization. So in the valley, there are 54 cities up and down that valley. Pretty much every city that you can name that's not Fresno or Bakersfield, the real large ones. They're all in this organization where they jointly purchase the risk management services that they need. They jointly purchase their liability coverage or jointly share their liability coverage, their workers' compensation coverage, their property coverage. So they're doing this together. And basically what happens is like when you purchase insurance at home, right? You have a deductible if you have a homeowner's loss, right? Well, the city has a deductible, right? It pays the first $25,000 or $50,000 of every claim. And then that pool in the Central Valley, the Central San Joaquin Valley, covers up to $1 million for any claim that they have. So if it's use of force claim, or a positional asphyxia claim, or a pursuit claim, or on the other side of the house that's not police, dangerous conditions of intersections, automobile accidents, trip and falls on sidewalks, anything that a city can be sued for. But the reason it's important to everybody is that it's fascinated me for years that the public is not aware of these things. They just think that cities have insurance, and it's just not the case. They're putting their monies into these organizations and trying to reduce their risk by doing the right things. And they're the ones that are on the hook. So anyone who's sitting on a jury that has a case that they're on and they feel like the person is deserving of $20 million, I don't know that they realize necessarily that money's tax dollar money. It's straight tax dollar money, right? It's coming from people's city's general funds.
Wait, time out, because this is like, you're coming at us fast and furious, man. It's like a fire hose of information coming at my face. And that is a good thing. But we want our listeners to understand the significance of that. Like, so can you kind of just walk it back a little bit? I mean, yes, of course, I'm biased. I love law enforcement officers, but we're talking, citizens within the communities that officers are tasked to protect. And when a jury is in favor against the police and there's a reward that goes out or an award that goes out financially, that affects an average citizen. What? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
It absolutely affects the average citizen and the police departments and the employees at the police departments directly, right? Because there's less money for their pay. There's less money for new vehicles or other equipment that they might need. All the different things that are paid for by a city are impacted by how much they have to pay out with respect to this third-party litigation. And so I've always fascinated, like I said, why the public doesn't know it and the employees don't know it. So it's a good question for you. I mean, why do you think that wasn't something that was brought up when you were policing? Why do you think they never talked about third-party liabilities and how it could impact the overall pay of the entire department, getting new vehicles, and all the different things that you guys needed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Just in my, couple years in being with CARMA now and working with you and learning so much about it, I always think about that, what's his name? Simon Sinek. He's a author and motivational speaker and trainer. And he wrote a book titled Start With Why. And in policing, there's a lot, or in any industry, there's a lot of information that comes down from the tip of the spear, and decisions, policy, practices, and employees are told this is how it is, but we're never really told why that's the case. And so just like listening to you and, being an agency head or part of executive staff and having to explain what you just explained to the whole organization, just so they understand why it is so significant that we, avoid missteps, we make good decisions, we get the proper training. And the reason why is if we don't make good decisions in the field, then we can be sued. And when we're sued, this is what can happen. And so I just think it's too involved to explain to everyone from the top of the organization all the way to the bottom, including professional staff, all of the nuances related to what you're talking about. That's the only thing I can really think about. And when you think about policing in general, I mean, the competing demands that are coming in all directions, whether you're, professional staff, dispatcher, patrol person, maybe you're assigned to the jails, a detective, a super, whatever the case, whatever the position, there are constant changes in information coming your way, and you're making decisions all day long. So to sit down and have a discussion about, what we're talking about with these risk pools and the impact it can have on the agency and the community is just something that is never discussed. And that's I'm not surprised, having been in the industry. And but it also explains why we're in play, right?
Yeah.
Our whole goal, our whole mission from the Karma team is to help educate and bring awareness to agencies so they're not out there having the conversations we're having. You know what I mean? We're letting them know, like, hey, here are the resources, the training, the support, and the programs that we can provide that is at no cost to your agency that can help you be successful as an individual contributor to your team, but also maybe it'll help your team, your bureau, your division, and maybe even your entire organization. We don't know, but the bottom line is we're a nonprofit pretty much, right? We are a nonprofit.
Yeah, we are.
We don't sell anything. We just provide resources to help agencies be successful. So they're making those critical, crucial, in the moment decisions when it really matters, based on sound judgment and training to avoid complaints, investigations, and of course, lawsuits.
Yeah, that education piece is our mission, like you said. And the reason it's become so important, I mean, all the members are the owners of these organizations that we're talking about. All the cities that we'll be talking to are members of Karma at some level. But the thing that's happened over the course of the last number of years is, ever since the Floyd incident and some of the other things that were going on out there, the costs of these claims have skyrocketed. Either because of what they call social inflation, where everybody thinks that, some baseball players making $72 million. So it's fair to give somebody $1 million for something that maybe doesn't deserve that amount. But they've skyrocketed because of social inflation, and then just what they call nuclear verdicts, just juries getting together and not understanding, like we said, where these dollars come from and awarding these just monstrous judgments. And so Karma, is an excess pool. So I was talking about the Central San Joaquin Valley. There are 5 other members that participate, and they pick up coverage above $1 million and go up to $10 million. And Karma,
can you just kind of, sorry to interrupt, but can you let our listeners know what other risk pools are out there under Karma's purview?
Yeah, actually, I can share something that'll show that. And if you've ever seen one of these logos, you will.
And the reason why I want to share this information with our listeners is because it's important to understand what risk pool that your city is assigned to, and if you belong to any one of these risk sharing pools, you are under Karma's purview, which will put you in a position to receive some of the support services that we provide at no cost to your agency. So, what are those risk pool?
Right. So if you're a city in the central San Joaquin Valley, that's one in the middle here, 54 cities up and down the central San Joaquin Valley, all the way from Angels Camp down to Porterville, every city in that region. Then there's one called the Municipal Pooling Authority, all the cities in Contra Costa County. So you'll know if that's one of you. Embasia, which is the Monterey Bay Area Self-Insurance Authority, all the Monterey cities down in that. There's 11 of them down there. Then there's the Bay Cities. It has all the Marin side cities, as well as some on the other side, including Berkeley, Union City, Redwood City, some of those large cities, Emeryville, all those ones there. And then Plan JPA, which is also in the Bay Area. So as pretty much all the Bay Area cities are in this organization. The little one at the bottom here is a special districts organization. They don't have police, but they participate with these other pools, these other risk-sharing groups at these higher liability levels. So there's 158 members. It's a good likelihood that anyone listening to this, your city is a member in this organization called CARMA.
Yeah. And so I'm going to back, if you can close that screen out, I'm going to back the truck up just a little bit to give our listeners some perspective. So when you and I met about this position, it was all things ABLE, right? And ABLE stands for the Active Bystandership for Law Enforcement Program. It's an acronym called ABLE. And so that was Rob's selling point to get me on to join his team. And I did some research on the program. Phenomenal program. It's great. But before we got to ABLE, can you tell us about the HELP initiative and what that means? Because that's more specific as to what we're talking about here. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I need to go back just a little bit. I mean, those 6 primary pools that I just showed, historically, they've always had their own risk control programs, right? So if you're a member of the Central San Joaquin Valley pool, risk control was provided by that organization. They would they'd have police forums, they would do defensive driving, they do all those sorts of things. And CARMA, as sort of the excess pool, never did much of that, right? But as these losses started to just go through the roof, the CARMA board, and it's again a board made up of the cities, decided that, listen, we should provide some consistent training for these high exposure liability things. High exposure liability protection program, HELP. That's what HELP stands for. And so they wanted to start with police because that's where we really were getting hit with these large costs. And so ABLE was the first program that we brought. We thought, hey, this could change culture. This could not only help with officer wellness and just be impactful with respect to the culture, but potentially reduce liabilities as well. If you're stopping mistakes and avoiding misconduct, you're going to reduce liabilities, right? So that was our reason for it. But the bigger reason is that it helps impact and enhance the culture at each of the entities.
Yeah, I love the ABLE program. That was the hook to get me to join the team. And if you're listening and my name sounds familiar, you've probably, and you work for one of the risk pools that we talked about, you're probably like, oh, okay, that's Rob Patton, the dude who was trying to get me to get our agency to get on board with the ABLE program. And so that was it, man. We were full bore, all things ABLE from a CARMA perspective, from the HELP initiative. And we're moving down that path, and we got about 25% of our agencies to become ABLE agencies. And that program, again, is just to reiterate, it helps change culture. It's designed to prevent harm and transform culture. And it's done by teaching officers from the agency head all the way down to the newest recruit and everybody in the agency how to intervene, right? There are policies out there. There are laws out there on duty to intervene. And there's not a whole lot of training on teaching people how to intervene or how to receive an intervention, which is a real thing in policing because egos are egos, man, and they can either get in your way or not. But if you're aware of it, by attending the training and knowing how you respond, we do a lot of role playing in the training, and it just teaches you to get a feel of what it's like to have an intervention on you, and then what it's like to intervene on somebody. And the best thing about this program is it's non-reportable. So whatever intervention occurs, there is no paper trail. It's between you and the other employee you're talking to, right? Having that critical, crucial conversation with somebody in your agency that represents you as well as the entire industry, and having that critical conversation to help prevent some sort of harm that may occur. And so that was it. And we were going full bore. And then over this last year.
Let me ask you, Rob. So, we have about 120 of the 150 members that have police departments. So 25% of that's pretty good. We're happy we were able to implement that. But what were some of the hurdles we were seeing and having to overcome to get everybody else to participate? And why were we having trouble getting to everybody else?
That's a great question, because that led to us re-strategizing our whole plan. And it came down to people not knowing who the hell we were. Nobody knew who Karma was. Nobody knew who I mean, initially people thought I was just selling something to an agency, which is a common practice in the industry. But we're not selling anything. We're trying to educate and bring awareness to people on the ABLE program. But what we failed to do was to educate people on who Karma was and what our purpose was, what our mission was. Our mission is to reduce high-profile payouts to all the agencies under our purview. Now, that to me just sets the tone. So I was like, once we figured that out as a team, we had to re-strategize. We went back to the board of directors. We advised them of our plan and our strategy. They voted, they agreed, and as of July of this fiscal year, we have a whole new strategy. Yes, we still offer ABLE as a program to agencies at no cost to an agency, but it's not our primary focus, which it was in the beginning. Now we've expanded our team. We just brought on a brand new training and delivery consultant, a retired sergeant out of Fresno PD. He's drinking out of a fire hose right now, trying to get a grasp on all this stuff. And but we have him. We have other initiative. We have other police forums, other training opportunities. We provide support, other resources. And so it's just really exciting. Yeah, for example, November 18th, we're putting on a Victory Mindset Wellness Summit is what it's called. It's a Tombstone Courage. We partnered with them. The owner of that company is Jeff McGreevy. He's a phenomenal person, retired law enforcement. But as you know, if you work in this industry, even in fire or EMT, there are many primary and secondary traumas that, you're taking hits your whole career. And if you don't address those over time, they'll wear on you, and then that leads to bad decision making, right? That's where the harm occurs. But anyways, we're having that training next week in Clovis. So we're excited about that. And we have numerous other trainings coming out. We've revamped our website with a law enforcement section that'll have all of our training dates, registration links, locations, some videos that we've been working on. We've made 2 phenomenal videos. We partnered with Walnut Creek Police Department down in Contra Costa County and the Antioch Police Department, which, by the way, is a phenomenal story. If you're a listener and you're not aware of what's happened in Antioch PD, they had this huge scandal over the last couple of years, and they completely flipped the script, and now they're rebuilding. They too implemented ABLE to their entire agency, and they are literally teed up for success. So we made a video with them. We're super excited about that. Maybe in another show here we'll share it with you guys. But that's going to be on our website too. It's the karma.org website.
www.karmajpa.org.
There we go.
And on there will be a police liability section where you can find all these things. So, I mean, the big thing is if you hear from Rob Patton or Brian Rogers, our new police consultant, we're not selling you anything. We're there to try to help, or we're trying to spread the word of karma, right? We're trying to educate you as to how risk management and police liability impacts your daily lives and the resources that you have within your city. So, I mean, Rob, what are some of the types of things that we're going to be talking about on Good Karma going forward? Because obviously this one is an introductory one. We're trying to help people understand why we're reaching out to them, what karma is about. But what do we plan to do in the future?
Which, man, it's kind of sky's the limit. I'm super excited about it. And, yes, this is our introductory episode being the first one, but we are going to have guests moving forward, and we're going to talk about a whole array of topics. Just to give you a quick snapshot, we're going to have industry experts, chiefs of police, city managers, litigation attorneys, risk management experts, and all of these people, they're going to give us insight and perspective with some of the challenges and rigors of the work that they have faced related to these claims, how it impacts an overall agency, meaning their budgets, as well as the city's budget, and then the effect that we talked about earlier on community members. I mean, and there's a whole list of topics. You know, we talked about health and wellness. We're going to be talking about that, risk management strategies and tactics. We're going to have high profile case debriefs. I'm talking to somebody about, you know, the potential opportunity to debrief a situation at their agency. So stand by on that. Those stories are always good to hear. They're interesting, but there are also a lot of lessons learned. Positional asphyxiation is a thing in law enforcement. I'm telling you right now, there was a big case down in LA that didn't go in the favor of policing, and a lot of young, hungry, ambitious attorneys now are going to they see that, right? And so they're going to jump on that trend and try to get on that wagon to fill their pockets. So it's we're talking with an expert to have some training on that for agency decision makers, executive staff type folks. So that keep your eyes open for that one.
Police pursuit. Police pursuit's another one. There's immunities, right, for that. But how do you maintain that immunity if you have a police pursuit? Those are other that was seen cases. Yeah.
Right on my list, qualified immunity related to police pursuits, right? Yeah. Okay, that's great. You watched your 1 hour video. Who recorded it? Who documented it? How do we know these people attended the training? Well, if you're unsure or you're not doing it, and one of your staff folks goes out to get some, and they have a significant crash that, you know, can negatively impact a community member or even the suspect you're chasing, and those things aren't in place, that is bad for your agency. It is bad for your city. It is bad for your community. And, you know, again, Karma's here to help talk you through that, to help you give some perspective. Technology, equipment, AI, right? The whole writing our reports for you guys. It's like, that's awesome and everything, but what are the implications, right? What does that mean? So these are the things we're talking about here on the Good Karma podcast, including legislative updates and, you know, just sharing a lot of the things that we're doing here as a unit to help serve you. And that's the beautiful thing about our position. It's like, especially, you know, coming from the business and having been in the game and taken my lumps, now being able to serve from this perspective on the sidelines where it's not as taxing, because, you know, policing, in my opinion, is the most dangerous job in America. And the men and women who choose that career path need to be properly equipped so they're at the level where they're performing at you know, that performance excellence type standard is what we're looking for. And that's why we exist. That is our mission, to help you maximize your potential so that you can be the best person in your role to better serve the bigger picture of your police agency and, of course, the industry.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if I'm listening to this, I hope if anything clicked for any of you out there, that you not only will reach out to us to learn more, but help us spread the word, right? Because if we can spread that word to all the other municipalities and police departments, and everybody's working from the same sheet of music, we can really reduce these things. It can help everybody, right? It will help the public. It'll help the officers. It'll help everyone with respect to the resources that we have to do our job, because there'll be fewer dollars going out to third parties, right? And these exorbitant awards, which is really, really impactful, right, for cities.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave you guys with this to ponder on. The next time you put in a training request for some expensive training that you had your eyeball on for a long time, and you're told no by upper management, you know, I ask that you think a little deeper than just the surface as to why that is the case. How come our cars aren't to the standard that they should be in? How come we don't have effective, less lethal weaponry? How come, you know, we don't have this technology that will advance our agency to the next level? Well, I can assure you that what we're talking about has a little bit to do with that. So think about the next time that you're out there. And if you're having conversations with your partners, your friends, your colleagues, talk about this podcast, share it, reach out to us. Rob, where can you be found? Like, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, we'll put down at the bottom here, Good Karma Podcast, so you can continue to follow us there. But the karmajpa.org, that website that we talked about, is a way to reach out to us. All of our contact information is there. You'll be hearing from Rob directly if you're one of the members of Karma, and just we're looking forward to getting to know you all, and hopefully you'll tune back in for the next Good Karma Podcast.
Absolutely. And I can be found on LinkedIn. I'm on, I have an Instagram and X account under Rob Patton 58. You'll have our email addresses. You do have our website, and I'm sure at some point your management teams have seen my name come across their computers. You're going to see a lot more of us. We're going to be making our rounds, attending police chief meetings, other trainings. Super excited to meet you in person. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to Karma and ask, because we may be able to check that box for you. All right.
All right.
So
thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Appreciate it.